I'm Midnight Agent Raw.
And I'm Okame.
We are the Super Media Bros podcast, and we are founding members of the OddPods Media Network.
Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Richie.
And I'm Little Matt.
And here at the 500 Section Lounge, we have a few requirements.
First, you've got to be able to talk about anything at all.
Secondly, you need to be able to laugh, play games, and talk to some very interesting people.
From sports radio personalities to reality television contest finalists and everything in between, we talk to them all.
Yeah, it's all right here in the lounge.
So be on the lookout for what we do next.
And always be there to
grab a listen.
Super Media Bros.
Hi, I'm Midnight Agent Raw.
And I'm Okame.
We're sitting down today with two very awesome people, one of which is actually a returning guest and probably the actual first returning guest on the show that we've had remotely. And the other, we've been talking about putting on the show since we interviewed Matt Caritas of Samurai Cop, which was like for fucking ever ago, both of which happen to be under the Cinema Epoch banner. Greg Hatanaka and Geno McGahee. What's up, guys?
Thank you. Thank you for having us, or thank you for having me too. Thank you.
I sort of feel like I've been on the show. So have I never been on this podcast before?
No, it was weird though. It was weird because we actually interviewed a musician named Pilot a few weeks ago, and he said kind of the same thing. He said it was weird hearing our voices. Like he felt like he had talked to us before, but it was because he had listened to the show so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I do hear your show. I see your tweets constantly, your Facebook, and so it's just like you're sort of omnipresent. So I feel like I've been on this before, but I'm sorry, and thank you for thank you for your patience.
Oh, absolutely, Greg. Like I said, me and Cody have been wanting to get you on for a while too, and like we've been meaning to have Geno back on for quite a while too, just because the conversations are always fun. So. But for those of you listening out there, as far as we remember, Geno is, are you still the acquisitions manager there?
Yes.
Okay, and Greg is the CEO of the company. So
Greg's a man.
That's right.
Supposedly.
On some days.
And also for listeners out there, Greg is also the director of Samurai Cop 2. So if you have listened to that episode, now you can hear the man himself instead of us just talking about him.
Right.
So how have you guys been doing? I mean, obviously y'all are still, putting movies out. We've seen a few of them pop up here in 2021 and some in 2020. So how have y'all been as far as since the last time we've spoken?
Well, I've been actually busy. Starting in late 2019, I embarked on the production phase, getting really aggressive into small production, doing these very micro-budgeted movies that we could provide to the different platforms like Amazon and Tubi. So we've done... I think we've done 12 movies over the past year and a half, and 8 of them were shot during COVID, which was, obviously unforeseen for everybody, but we were able to keep busy and cranking stuff out. And it's great. It's great to be able to, to keep people working and to try different genres. Like next month, I'm going to be shooting a giallo thriller, detective thriller. So it's nice to be able to experiment during this period right now. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market for filmmakers. Everyone's scrambling. No one knows what's going on. Amazon has a new policy of not accepting these smaller micro-budgeted movies anymore. So it's getting harder and harder to find an audience, and to maintain that audience. So I'm just grateful for what we're able to do right now and how it's, and how it's going. But I'm not counting my blessings. It could go any minute now.
Hopefully they have some more streaming options that open up.
Yeah, well, what happened is that Amazon said we're tired of paying filmmakers for these kinds of movies. That it doesn't fit into their corporate mentality. So they launched Imdb TV, which is an ad-based platform. So in other words, Target pays for your movie if they advertise on it. Walmart does, Best Buy. So it's no longer in Amazon's pocket to front these bills and pay filmmakers their wages. Which is understandable because their overhead was getting so big. They were literally having to store and stream, 30,000, 40,000 titles, perhaps. I'm not sure. So with Imdb TV, they're they're able to now say, hey, it's in the hands of other people, just like Tubi. Tubi is ad-based too. The problem with IMDb is that they literally told me, don't send us horror films.
What?
Yeah, they said don't send horror films, and we want PG rated movies, and if it's R rated, there have to be stars in it. So like that rules out everything that we've done producing during the past year. So it's Amazon's no longer a way to sort of subsidize a filmmaker. We still have Tubi, but they dropped off a bit in revenue because of the buyout from Fox, and Tubi's producing their own content now, which you know what that means. So there's these other smaller platforms, and it remains to be seen how much, if it's going to be history repeating itself, whereas like in the early days of Netflix, they were making money off of these indie films, on DVD. They were making tons of money on cult movies. And then once they got a fair enough subscribership, they said, screw you guys, we're going to make our own movies, and we're only going to deal with studio movies. And so is this going to happen with Redbox? Because they want to launch their own streaming and pick up indie films. It's Pluto TV owned by Viacom now. They have a good cult channel, but, are they going to kick us to the side 2 years from now? We don't know. And it's a constant struggle to maintain and keep up the content of what they want for each platform. And it's very, very hard to do that as a filmmaker.
You would think after a while, like the collective of cult film directors and producers and so forth would actually create their own streaming platform themselves to where they don't have this issue, basically.
I agree with you. And I mean, obviously, I hear that all the time. The problem is in order to actually make a reasonable amount of money on a film of yours that's streaming, you literally now have to get like well over 1 million views. That's not even, that's barely enough. You have to get millions of views to recoup any sort of your budget. The problem is if filmmakers team up together, do you really think they're going to get 5 million, 6 million, 8 million subscribers to their channel? I'm highly dubious of that.
Yeah.
You need to have a base like Amazon that's got 80 million, 90 million, right? Netflix, how much do they have? I don't know what they have, 200, 80, 90, 200 million, whatever. So you need that kind of basis because, 3% of that audience is watching these indie cult movies. So you can't, it's just not realistic. And, and then infrastructure to be able to pay for the bandwidth and the constant storage and all that. It's just not possible, unfortunately. So we need to ally ourselves with, existing, mega monsters like Amazon and Voodoo, anybody that's aligned with a major organization, corporation, infrastructure.
Yeah. I've actually seen Pluto TV, and it's basically like a TV thing where you can scroll and there's different kinds of channels on there, like Fail Army and like has its own channel. There's a whole channel for literally there's a cult cinema channel on there. But they also
and there's also what's that company that does Sharknado? There's a Asylum channel also on there. Yeah,
Asylum has one, and I was thinking about that not even that long ago. I was like, that'd be cool if like you guys would be able to like put a Cinema Epoch channel on there where you could stream like all your movies and stuff.
I'd love to, but we don't have 1,000 movies. But here's the good news: Pluto just picked up Samurai Cop 1 and 2, so it's going to be airing there later this year, which is great because they have the RiffTrax version up there, unfortunately, which obviously eliminates the nudity. But you're not watching the movie with that whole commentary going throughout the whole movie, so it's nice that you'll be able to see the original Samurai Cop in its pure form on Pluto soon.
Hell yes, because both of you obviously know, like most of the people that listen to this show know, we champion the fuck out of both of those movies. But yeah, that's hopefully that's like a good like foot in the door for the rest of the catalog that you guys have.
Yeah, I mean it is because our catalog is now very much diversified by the new films we've been making, and we're not acquiring as much as we used to because it was a very risky game, and most of the movies were not finding an audience, so we decided to create our own films that. Because we know the audience, try different genres, so we'll see. I mean, I'm not discounting any platform that wants to pick up our films. I encourage them and support them completely.
I mean, it's more exposure for y'all in general. So, I mean, it's a good thing either way.
You need to speak.
Oh, well, I was just so compelled, Greg. You're doing awesome, man. But yeah, I'm happy. We're moving forward, and I feel very strong about the movies that we have coming out. Obviously, just from my own standpoint, seeing Amityville Cop made, like Greg is a master cameraman, artist, and to see Amityville Cop in his hands, it's fucking awesome for me. And Rise of the Scarecrows, Hell on Earth, the plan is to fucking kick in the door on that one. I think everyone's gonna be surprised when they see it.
We're excited for that too, and it was funny because like when you brought up Amityville Cop, it was actually it reminded me of something I was going to bring up a while ago. I noticed you guys work with Lisa London quite a bit, and we actually had her on the show I think like a couple years ago. Really, really cool, really nice. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was cool to see her like working with you guys more. And I think I see is Lorene still going to be in Amityville Cop?
Yeah, she's in it. Lisa's basically our family team cheerleader. I think she's been in probably 10 of our movies. And yeah, it's interesting. Like Amityville Cop, her role was written for a male actor. Just like Samurai Cop 2, I don't know if people know the story, but Samurai Cop 2, her role was going to be played by George Lazenby, who played James Bond in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and then he skipped out at the last minute. I think he was sick at that time. So I scrambled and I cast her in the role as Tommy Wiseau's father.
I know we loved that so much because even Tommy kept like, or y'all kept like father in there.
Yeah. I know. That was a very nutty shoot. Yeah. So she's been a great part of our team. So she's got a good cameo in Amityville. Geno had written the script early on. I think, Geno, didn't you start writing it like right when COVID hit?
I wrote it last November because I actually, at my 9 to 5, I was dealing with a lot of bullshit because of the COVID where I was managing about 26 people, and finally in November they were out of my hair. We were back to somewhat normalcy. And so I took 2 weeks off and I vowed not to do anything. My goal was to sit at home and do nothing but drink wine and watch Three's Company. That was it. And so as I was sitting there, I just started thinking about an idea Greg and I had thrown around a little bit earlier about Amityville Cop. And I started writing it, and it came very easy. I'm such a fan of Maniac Cop, and I'm a fan of Lethal Weapon. So when I started writing it, I think I wrote it in 2 days, and I said, this is going to be fucking awesome. I'm like, I hope eventually it gets made, and through a stroke of luck, an opportunity presented itself, and we were able to make it, and to have Lorene Landon in it, considering how much of a huge fan of Maniac Cop I am, it's fucking awesome. So yeah, I'm very proud of that one. I think people are going to walk away from that one and dig it, because I think it's kind of like Lethal Weapon meets demons. I think people are going to, and of course there's some Maniac Cop influence, because I love that movie so much. So I'm interested to see what people think of it.
Yeah, I remember that when Lorene first read the script, she said this appears to be an homage to Maniac Cop, which was that was fun that she sort of got that. I'd also mentioned there's a little bit of Assault on Precinct 13 as well.
Yes,
having the whole force stuck, in one location at the eve of the party when the demon is going to like invade them. So there's a lot of that, and it was written for. I mean, ironically, it was written for a COVID type of situation where we really couldn't travel and do multiple locations. It was only a handful of lead characters in the film, and I think it works. Looking at these films shot during this period are interesting way to look at how we coped with limitations on set and who we could cast and how we could operate, so we did everything under COVID protocol in the end, which was good. It was, it was surprisingly not as difficult as I thought it would be, but still it was a different culture that everyone was dealing with. There was certainly a culture of paranoia for sure.
But I'm sure it's weird to say this, but I think at least on like my end of things, at like jobs and things like that, it felt like some of the stuff ran a little more efficiently in some areas. So I don't know if like maybe y'all encountered like, oh, well, doing things like maybe having to do things a little differently might have, been like, oh, well, maybe we should do it this way from now on, or like this kind of seems a little easier, or, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, working with the same team that we trusted and not bringing in strangers. Working with strangers is the scariest thing, because you don't know where they come from. They come off the street usually. I mean, we don't know what their background is. And so that was one thing of a little bit more sense of security. Then there's just the pure issue of hygiene. It's like, we used to have bowls of craft service of open peanuts, and people would just grab them with their hands, like they weren't individually wrapped and things like that. And I look back at that at the time, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or whenever we were making movies, and like, there were some hygienic things that, I would not return there, on the next shoots.
I had a tough time getting a house for a location to shoot in, because initially the first house that I got, they started backing away because of the COVID stuff. And so, thankfully I eventually found one, but I had a couple actors drop out because of fear that, that being in any group, no matter how safe, it was still there. So there were obstacles, but thankfully, just keep pushing forward. Eventually things will click.
Yeah, and you were coming off the tail end of COVID, right before things sort of opened up, and then you were shooting after things opened up. When we were starting like last March or April, we literally had people said, "I'm not willing to hug someone on screen. I don't want to do a fight scene, even if it's a punch or slap, because I don't want to make contact." Because I think we had an action scene. We did an action movie. So there were things like that, and clearly nobody wanted to kiss each other. So that limited, whatever we could shoot and the genre and how many characters we could have in the same room at the same time. We tried to limit it to, 6 people or 7, in any given room. Sometimes it got a little bit scarier because a couple people would leave and then 2 more come in. Then all of a sudden you realize like 10 people have come through this room, even though there were 6 at one given time. So there were things like that. But I feel like in the end, we basically mostly worked with family, and there was a bit of confidence in each other that we were all going through this thing together.
I think everyone needed an escape, more or less. Like I find that with the Scarecrows crew, where a lot of these actors haven't worked for a long time because of the COVID. So finding this project for them and for myself was just something that was really wonderful and filled the void that we all shared.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was going to say that's be a good thing to look back on, where you got closer with people. You probably feel a lot more of a unit, as like I said, more structure, more family oriented, and I feel like that shows on film. It will show on film, Like maybe,
I fell in love. I fell in love with the Scarecrows people. They're my family. I love them all. I'm sad they're not here with me. I can't hug them.
Yeah, dude, that's what I was gonna say too. Like to go into the Scarecrows bit, man. So when we had you on last time, we had reviewed Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre, which was actually one of the first. You get to hold that title, sir. It was one of the first movies, and actually was the first in Cult Cinema Showdown in our series, like that one and Dylan's 420 Massacre. Like when we had you on, we were talking about like a lot of your filmography like that, and your original Rise of the Scarecrows, like Halloween Tales, Scary Tales, all that stuff, man. So like headspace wise, where were you at like before like you got the hair up your ass to like write? Or I'm sure you had the idea in your head like for a while, but what was finally like okay, I'm gonna go fucking do this movie. We're gonna make this, and we're gonna like kind of turn the volume up a little bit on this.
Well, the weird thing is a few bad experiences. I ended up getting to the point where I was like, why am I even doing this? I'd much rather just write a screenplay, hit enter, let someone else make it, and then I'll go figure something else out. But then I woke up one morning and I just said, I want to fucking film something, and I don't really know what. And this is where you'll have to decide if it was the universe talking or what, because I believe it was. So I have this area where I have all my film stuff. So I was trying to figure out what I had for film stuff. My initial idea was to do a short film, stick my toe in the water before I jump in. And as I opened up the closet doors, I'm looking up, and staring at me is a scarecrow head that my friend made years ago. And, have you guys seen that movie, I Can Only Imagine, the religious movie? Anyone?
Doesn't sound familiar.
No? All right. Well, there's one point where he wrote down, I can only imagine as a kid. And he looks up, he says, oh God, I get it now, because he reads it again. Not that I think God or the universe put that scarecrow head there, but I found it very unusual that the scarecrow was looking at me in such a way. So I said, okay, so I'm going to do scarecrows. And from that point on, I said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. And that's why I didn't rush it. I took 9 months to prepare for it. I said I was going to film it like it was my last. And thankfully, I fell in love with the art again and the people again. And I want to make a film where people walk away and say, he's not a backyard filmmaker. He made something that can stand, and that the cast is right. All the shit that's been held over my head for so long, I think will evaporate when people see this, I think.
Yeah, but the Scarecrow's journey has been with you for 10 years, right? The first one was 2000 and when did you make the first one?
It was I actually filmed it in 2003. Okay, so it's
yeah, I mean, your closeness to the material has been a large part of your life.
It has, and what's funny, Greg, is you brought up Netflix and the streaming. what made Scarecrows the first one, like what put me on the map, was Netflix had launched their streaming, and one of Scarecrows was one of the first ones they took. And then I don't know how this happened, but CBS on their website, they had films to look out for, and they listed Rise of the Scarecrows as a sequel to the 1988 Scarecrow movie. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to go with it. And I didn't expect it, to do as well as it did initially. But, I was in my early 20s, and I was like, if it gets me on the map, good, bad, or otherwise, I'm happy. But I find that the people that disliked it at first, like the critics, have come back to me, and they've got some love for it now. So I see its flaws. I understand its flaws, but I also understand, I was a 20-something-year-old without any film experience, wanted to make something. If I had a choice now, I would rather have made it than not made it. So I'm just glad to be back, to square one. We'll see what happens.
And you're going to get new eyes on part one, on the first one, when your new one comes out, and that's great to be able to have a situation. And you see this on streaming a lot now, where in the days of like VHS and DVD, you put out a movie, and if it flopped, you're basically were screwed. There wasn't like a lot of residual market for movies because these movies could never be shown on TV. So all you had was DVD and VHS. But now on streaming, a new platform picks up something, and then you got new eyes, or some people find one other movie, it connects to something else because it's trending or it's guiding you personally on algorithms. So it's great that, especially a lot of your early work has the chance to be discovered. And I'm even noticing it on some of my earlier movies like Mad Cowgirl and Blue Dream, that there are new people sort of discovering it, and like, oh, this is I didn't know this existed. People are actually discovering Samurai Cop 2. I get comments all the time, and they're saying we had no idea there was a sequel, and this is 7 years after we made the movie.
And Samurai Cop 2 deserves all the attention in the world. That not just only for the quality of the film, but I was lucky enough to kind of be on the sidelines with you, Greg, and going through that experience and seeing, the process of what you went through. Because like with family, I always say, if you can survive Family Secret, you can survive anything, because it was such a trial for me. But then when I sat on the sidelines and watched what you went through, I said, well, Family Secret's kind of small potatoes. So it just nothing but respect for the film, but also for your diligence in making the film.
You talk about never wanting to make a movie again and trying to, re-energize yourself cinematically in the mind and persevering beyond all the shit that was thrown at you. And to be honest, Samurai Cop 2 was that movie for me. That was the Heaven's Gate movie. That's why I didn't make a movie for 5 years after that experience. And, there's only so much I can say in the documentary that's coming out, but, and I'm glad that people are discovering the movie and seeing Tommy Wiseau's performances and, Matt's performance. But, it's not the movie that I wanted, obviously. I think most of the time we never get the movie that we wanted, but, it's far away from the movie I originally wanted.
Yeah, with Samurai Cop 2, I remember when we were speaking with Matt, he kind of said the same thing, where he was like, okay, so there were different, I guess there were like different versions of the script or whatever, and things just got shot like that y'all could shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was saying at the end of the day, it was great that there was something that was assembled completely. And like, he, obviously was like, kudos to Greg for like, pulling that off and making something, watchable and something to watch. And it turned out like it was. So.
Yeah, I'm glad that there's a movie that's there and it's in some form watchable. But honestly, like during the middle of the movie, I honestly thought that I was going to end up with a movie with Bai Ling as being the only star, and I would have none of the other. That's why when you watch the movie, it was shot in a way that I really thought that a lot of the other main actors weren't going to be in the movie. And so it sort of seems like Bai Ling is the lead, and it's going to be this sort of Asian sci-fi mob movie. But then you've got these samurai actors coming in, and like I said, there's only so much I can say about what really happened. But my production team, we literally thought that this is going to be a movie with Bai Ling.
Now, Greg, I never asked you this, but I'm going to ask you now. What is that yarn lion hanging in your house somewhere?
Yes, it is.
I thought so.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's right above the fireplace.
Yeah, there's some memorabilia we have. We've got that. We've got Lexi Bell's wig, and we've got different stuff in it. But getting back to Matt, though, he's been the most genuine guy and supportive of whatever I did on that movie. And kudos to him for understanding and and he feels responsible a lot too, because had he never shown up alive, from being dead on IMDb, right? According to what they have. So yeah. That this movie would never have happened, but then also the torture and the chaos and the hell that occurred during the process. So, and I'm not going to give any excuses for myself. I mean, it is what it is in the end. What you see on screen, that's what I take responsibility for. So.
And I think we're our own worst critics across the board. Because when I stand back and I watch Samurai Cop 2, I love it. I love that, these characters have returned, and it's a modern sort of take on it. So I appreciate the film very much, and even more so, like I said, when I kind of learned the backstage stuff. So I think we're always our own worst critics. We always take jabs at ourselves more than most people would. So I always say, Greg, hold your head high, because that was a fucking great achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. Nice just getting some more eyes, but yeah. Okay, next.
So, are there any other films in the pipeline that you guys have coming up aside from, obviously, from Rise of the Scarecrows or Amityville Cop? I mean, I'm sure you do. It seems like you've always got the gears turning, as far as writing, or you've got something that you're already working on or that you've been trying to get done.
Well, I have a Christmas movie. It's going to fill you with joy. It's not a horror film. My goal is the wife and I. We watch those Hallmark Christmas movies, and I had no intention of ever watching them, but I have a film review site, scaredchefreviews.com. If the listeners want to go there right now, check it out. And I decided that I was going to review one of these shitty Christmas movies. And like on average, like a review will get between 20,000 views, 30,000 views, and I'm happy. Well, there was a film called The Mistletones. That was complete shit, but it had Carl Winslow from Family Matters on it, so it couldn't be all bad. Mm-hmm. And I ended up reviewing it, and within a weekend, it got 60,000 views. And I'm like, I'm going to start reviewing Christmas movies. And the more I watch these Hallmark and Lifetime Christmas movies, the more I started thinking to myself, I could make one of these, and I think I could do it better with a little bit deeper than what they put out there. And so this March, I will be making a Christmas movie. My plan is to make it, dramatic and sad at times, but I'm hoping that everyone, when they watch it at the end, will hold each other, hug each other, and maybe even a kiss on the forehead. That's my goal.
Did either of you have a chance to catch a recipe for Seduction on Lifetime?
I was just thinking about asking that too.
No, I haven't had the pleasure.
Oh my God.
Y'all have heard of it though, right?
Honestly not.
Oh shit.
Okay, so give you a rundown of this movie. So Mario Lopez plays Colonel Sanders.
Oh, this one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was a beautiful disaster blessing for us.
Yeah, we covered that. Yeah, we covered that on our because we do a rebrand every October and every December. We'll do Spooky Media Bros in October, and then we'll do Santa Media Bros in December. And this was a stocking stuffer bonus episode, because when we found out this was coming up, we were like, oh my God, we have to fucking talk about this, because this is some random shit. Mario Lopez as the fucking Colonel. What the hell?
Awesome.
It's worth your time, I promise. I think it's
I look forward to it. It sounds too good to be true.
No, it's 15 minutes long, so it's not even it's not even a waste. It's beautiful.
It's amazing what they can get away with, the idea of Mario Lopez playing the Colonel is absurd, but the movie was greenlit and it got made and it's out. It's insane, some of the stuff that gets passed by because they need to fill their quota and crank stuff out, and sometimes there's no oversight.
I think most of the idea behind movies like Recipe for Seduction is they're trying to reach a certain target audience that isn't watching Lifetime. So maybe more of the people who find this hilarious might start watching their channel.
It worked on my fat ass, so.
No, Lifetime isn't bad. They do good on those, the true crime stuff. They know that over dramatic is funny. And so it's almost like every time they make one, it's like if Ted Bundy, if they told the story with the soap opera actors, this is what it would be. And I'll find myself every once in a while watching one of those.
Yeah, and Amazon was saying that genre works well, where a female lead detective or CSI kind of thing. And then in the Christmas genre, woman, she just broke up with her boyfriend, and then she finds this new guy during Christmas. they were saying that those genres work very, very well. And so that's why one of the movies I have coming up, I'm not directing, I'm producing them. And Nicole D'Angelo, who's worked with me on like the past 14 movies, she's directing and it's going to star, and it's called Blink. And it's sort of a psychic, there's a show that on Netflix. What is it called? The Marvel show about the female psychic detective. I don't know. If you know
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones.
Yeah. So sort of in that genre like that. So that's something that we're going to be shooting next, coming up. And then I have a couple of Western movies that I've always wanted to try to attempt to do a Western. So that's probably something I'll direct next.
You piqued my interest already with that one.
Oh yeah, because dude, when's the last time you've seen a good Western movie?
I mean, it was 310 to Yuma.
Shit.
But don't put the pressure on me. I just said I was making a Western, but
I just mean in general. When's the last time you've seen just like a Western movie in general? Like it's just
right. Yeah, I'm juggling the various plots. It could go any way, so I'm trying to figure out what kind of feel I want and what type of story to tell. So I'm not going to probably shoot it till end of the year. So that's coming up, and I've got about 3 other films I'm producing, and I'm the cinematographer on all of these. So I'm involved creatively on everything, but I'm having other people step in and bring their vision as a director to it. And it's the same family I've worked with, Rich Mallory, like I said, Nicole D'Angelo, Nino Cimino, who did the American Mobster movies, Craig Danielle, who was the lead in Christmas Love, and she's in 5 other movies I produced and directed, and she's got a very good a movie that's very social driven in terms of its themes about drug addiction and just addiction in general and life.
Cody, I heard you were training for the Olympics this year.
Oh yeah, I've been training for a lot of different sports. The Cajun track and field, walking through humidity down here, and then AC boxing, because you know how we hate dealing with no air conditioner in this hot weather in the summertime. So I go round for round, blow for blow with this air conditioner of mine.
Well, do you know what's going to make your training a lot easier?
What's that?
Taming your pubes with the help of our friends at Manscaped.
So you're telling me it's time for training and explaining the next level of Manscaped?
That's it. If you, an athlete such as yourself, treats your body like royalty, why not treat your pubes like Olympic gold, dude?
Fellas, do right by your balls. Don't come out of post-quarantine with rawness.
The world is starting to open up, and the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped is here to help get you ready. Inside, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, plus 2 free gifts: Performance boxer briefs and the Shed travel bag.
The world is starting to open up, and so will your legs eventually.
Get 20% off plus free shipping with our code SUPER at manscaped.com.
Talk about a world-class dismount into post-quarantine world. This package is the perfect package for your package, and peak performance in whatever sport you desire.
Even the most unconventional sports.
Like the 2 I'm going for, because we both go for gold in both of these sports.
The brand new Lawnmower 4.0 is here to take the podium. This 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology.
Because the only accidents you want to have is during the events that you perform, not during the trim.
The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multi-function on-off switch that can engage a travel lock, and gives you the ability to turn on the 4000K LED spotlight when needed for a precise shave. Did I mention this is waterproof? Michael Phelps is just drooling thinking about the possibilities.
How would you know he's drooling if he's in the water?
That's a very good point. This package also comes with the Weed Whacker to chop your worst weeds in both your nose and your ear.
So I can actually hear the whistle go off.
This tool is a lock to take home the gold in the biathlon.
Yeah, the AC boxing and the Cajun track and field.
The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor power 360-degree rotary dual blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes.
That's a very interesting way to put holes, but yeah.
After trimming your pubes, show them some sportsmanship with Manscaped's liquid formulations. The Crop Preserver ball deodorant and Crop Reviver ball toner are key to feeling victorious this year. Go for the gold this year, guys. Get 20% off plus free shipping with our code SUPER at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping using our code SUPER at manscaped.com.
Go ahead and achieve pubic glory this year with Manscaped. Just put the gold medal on your crotch.
I was actually going to ask another question for both of you, actually. Like, do you prefer being more hands-on behind the camera and like directing and, you know, filming it? Or do you have more of a preference of having a little bit of like a hand in it, but kind of giving, you know, whoever else is taking the reins, creative freedom or the reins to do, you know, that film?
I'm a control freak. When I'm on, you know, the whole thing is, when I'm on set, I usually have my hands in everything. Like, I'm working with Pete Baez, who's running camera, and I found myself, I try to stop myself from grabbing the camera and just doing it because it's my nature. I want things a certain way, and like I said, I'm a control freak. I'll give you a quick example. I was in this film. I'm not an actor. I don't want to act. I hate when I see like Stan Lee in these Marvel films. I don't want that. And so, but my buddy was like, I'm making a film. Will you just be the sleeping middle-aged guy? And I finally said, they're noticing the white hairs coming in, you motherfuckers. And so I ended up doing this role. And so my whole thing was, I'm like, I'm not saying any lines because I'm going to ruin your film if I talk. So you just give me a role that I don't have. So I was sleeping middle-aged guy. So I'm laying in this bed as sleeping middle-aged guy. And before I knew it, I was directing the film. And I caught myself. Because I told my buddy, I'm like, why didn't you just tell me to shut the fuck up? But it's in my nature to automatically try to gain control of whatever I'm involved in. I just need a friend to tell me just shut up and just do what you're supposed to do. But if I'm on a set, my natural inclination is to try to run camera, try to direct, and just everything else. You know, outside of the gore, I know I would fuck up, so I'm confident to let someone else handle it.
For me, I feel I'm sort of in the same boat as Geno. I guess the difference is that, you know, I had 6 movies where I didn't shoot it. I sort of took part in the editing, but wasn't really the editor. And, you know, honestly, like, I wasn't happy for the most part with what was done, you know, and I was tired of like not being able to shoot the whole script. So basically the last 12, 13 movies I've done, I've shot them myself. I have an editor, but I finish the editing, I polish it. I do the sound. And so I get what I need for each specific platform. And also because since I've been doing editing post-production for many, many years now, I sort of know the cookie cutter system and what I need for this sort of mini factory going on. And it's worked. Thank God it's worked, fingers crossed, for everything we've been doing the past 2.5, 3 years even. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't think I'll depart too much, except that at some point, you know, being a director drains you completely because there's so much going on in your mind, especially if you're the writer and the director. You're just drained intellectually, physically. And so that kind of thing is why I hand off to a few people, like the next 2 movies I'm not directing. Because I know, and I'm also a method the way I sort of direct, so I sort of know what goes through my mind and my body when I'm making a movie. And I don't know that I could do that because at this rapid rate of we're trying to do 12 movies a year, it's just not going to be possible. I mean, I'm already a basket case, but, so I'm going to have to, so being able to delegate out to people, but yet I'm still the cinematographer. I'm still capturing the vision artistically and visually. That's really what I need. And I cut the pieces for what the editor needs. It's a very good system we've got. And, let's see how much we can, how much further we can go with it, but I'm very happy with the results we've been getting.
See, the thing I think about now, and it just popped in my head, is basically y'all are leading the charge, I guess you can say, with like the cult cinema films, underground films and stuff like that in a certain way, like with anybody else who's in the same boat as y'all. And y'all could be great mentors to people up and coming that, have a struggle trying to make themselves known because they really don't have hardly any connections with anybody to get their stuff out there. But then you can see the potential that they have or see like the vision that they have, and you can go, okay, let's kind of like work together, and I can give you like, because I know eventually at some point, like you said, Greg, directing drains you. A lot of the work that y'all put behind films is just taxing on so many levels. So at some point you do want to, like, I guess, hang it up, whether it be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or however long it is. But, at that same frame, you go to these people that are like, hey, I have this dream, I have this vision, and they're up and coming. Well, let me guide you in the right direction. Let me show you what I've learned over the last, 20, 30 years, basically. So I think y'all would make good mentors for people like that, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, filmmaking is in Geno's and my blood. We can't escape from it. We're stuck in this sort of asylum, this insanity. We can't leave it. So, but we've talked about doing podcasts and shows to sort of guide people. But the problem is it's a very chaotic environment going on in the world. Not so much. Not only making the movie, which is draining, and actors don't view movies as real commodities anymore. So it's hard to get a good cast. It's hard to get a good crew. It's a different time. So not only is the struggle to make the movie the nightmare, but then once you finish the movie and getting it out there is could be an even greater nightmare because of these platforms. I'll be honest with you, some of my recent movies were on Amazon for 2 months, then they pulled them. Had I invested all my life savings into these movies like I know other filmmakers do, that would have been catastrophic. So there, and you can't foresee an event like that where Amazon's going to say, hey, we're taking 10,000 movies off now. Not going to tell you. You can't foresee the advertising dollars like Tubi's, like the stock market. 1 month during the summer, their ad numbers go up and then they drop, and you don't know. You're at the whim of these algorithms, these computer algorithms that decide how your movie gets seen. Like if you get pushed up, it's like social media. Like if you don't keep posting and you're not active. Like, oh, you've only made a movie every 3 years. The computer doesn't recognize you as a real thing, and so you get less visibility. And it's just very hard to even tell people how to navigate, because I tell people, yes, this is how you do it, but then I'm saying a different tune 3 months later because no, you can't do it this way because now Google says you can't advertise your trailer because there's cigarettes, there's alcohol in it. You're encouraging suicide, or this is a sensitive issue you're talking. So Google just pulled some of our trailers last week because they says they're too sensitive to advertise anymore. Now these are trailers that we've been marketing for 6 years, and they're saying no, you can't do it now. So it's very hard to tell. There's no book that you can tell people here, this is it. Because it constantly changes. And, I know filmmakers spending thousands of dollars on marketing and they're making $5, because they're not hitting the algorithms, or just something's not working. You know what I mean? So it's everyone's scrambling and they're acting blindly. And I really feel for every filmmaker out there, because for the most part, most are making 1 or 2 movies and they just don't get the business landscape the way it's changed dramatically over the past 5 years, 6 years.
Another thing I was going to talk about earlier too, and it's just a lot going on the last, year and a half or so. The change in people, like you said earlier, like the fear, the anxiety and everything like that happening during this time frame. And then years to come, people still have those anxieties and those fears still locked into their brain. So when they were performing, for example, certain crew members performed a certain way for so long, and now everything has happened. Now they're changing up so much because of all the issues that has happened over the last couple of months, basically. Same with actors, same with directors and everything like that. So like you said, Greg, everything changes so damn much, not so much for the algorithms and for the content itself, but so much that people are evolving in a direction that was unforeseen, basically.
Well, I think for the most part, and maybe I'm pessimistic, half glass full kind of thing, or half empty, I should say. I don't think a lot of people survived COVID psychologically and emotionally. I think the damage has been done. And so there's just an automatic kind of negativity, depressive nature going on when people take an approach to anything right now. And I don't know that we're ever going to get back our positivity that we had going into COVID. So that's affecting everything that's being done now, from making movies to how they're marketed to business. I just see a lot of rage and anger, people coming out of COVID, and it's pretty scary. And I hope that, with the content that we create can enlighten people somehow. Maybe there's something, maybe there's one scene that they'll see oh my God, Tommy Wiseau, that's amazing. Oh, I'm so happy. And I see comments like that. They're saying I had never knew 5 seconds could change my life, So maybe there's things like that we can help as sort of storytellers, to bring some of that confidence back in the culture.
And you just said it right there, confidence. That was the main, whenever you were talking just now, that was the word that popped into my head. And I was like, that word right there above, the fear and everything else, or, the positivity, confidence, like the confidence to come in and just know you're going to nail it, or just know that, hey, nothing's wrong. Like, because now, like you said, kind of everybody has, to look over their shoulders at this point.
Yeah.
Well, not only that too, like you have the escape, basically the escape aspect mentally, because that was movies since like the early 1910s, 1920s. Like that was an escape for people from reality, and especially now, this is a huge escape for people dealing with everything going on. So not only much is the confidence, but the escape factor, so that they can actually break away from the fears, basically. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. The problem you've got is that the way we've got now is that, when you're consuming content, you're sort of, okay, you're with the family, but you're still isolated. A lot of people are watching things alone. Theaters I pray that theaters survive. We're seeing some decent numbers, but you're losing that fraternity where you're with other people and you can talk and you're watching the same vision, and I used to go to cinemas all the time and see great films, and there would be just a stranger talking to me about something that they saw. And there was that connection. And I think that it's gone for the most part the way people consume content now. First of all, they're not watching the whole movie. They're watching maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or they're skipping it. So you're not getting the same experience when you had like 300 people in a cinema watching the same 90 minutes and the same vision and presentation that you saw. It's very, very different, and I'm guilty too. I'm literally I was watching just all of the James Bond movies, but just the titles. With the silhouetted girls I was just watching that the other night. Just every title sequence. I wasn't watching the movies, and so like it's very bizarre how people get their content and are absorbing it.
Yeah.
Well, I also think like with the back in the day with the video stores, you invested, even though it was $3-4. You said I paid $3 or $4 to rent this movie. I'm watching it through to get my money's worth. Where now, if you go to Prime or any of the other places, you have no investment. You're watching it for free, so there's no incentive to watch the whole thing because you're not losing it when you switch to another title. So, and the video store was another great place for conversation and comparing notes. That's gone. I'm hoping that we can find some medium where people can just, talk about film and have an uprising, beyond like the Hollywood bubble where movies like fucking Space Jam is created.
Yeah, in those days, VHS, you were able to look what was on display, study the cover, look at the photos on the back, look at the credits, just like an album. When I would go to LP stores and you'd look at the jackets and you'd see stuff that you would never know. That's how I discovered like John Cassavetes, because Disney put out his movies early on. Kudos to them. And I would just happen to pick up Killing of a Chinese Bookie, and I said, this cover looks interesting. I looked on the back, look at the synopsis, and I hated the movie, but then I realized years later it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And so like had I not been in that store and discovered that, I probably wouldn't be the John Cassavetes fan that I am today. And I don't know how you get discovery anymore when you're being fed what movies to watch based upon your personalized choices. Like, how do you go out of the box and just discover something? Mm-hmm. You just can't. And the problem is that Geno's right. Like Prime, there's no investment in the process. So they're literally watching 5 minutes and then they write a review that the movie sucks. They go to IMDb, they give it a 1 star. But, our trend, our movies work based upon trending, and Amazon has a direct correlation to how many reviews and star ratings you have on IMDb. And there's tons and tons and tons of trolls there knocking our ratings down, and our movies are not getting visibility anymore. And it's everything, the whole system stacked up against us as the indie filmmaker.
People are more likely to troll and to put up the comments. Like I forget which movie it was of mine. It may be on all of my titles, I don't know. But you do have that, I watched 5 minutes and shut it off. It's complete shit, 1 star. And if you watch 5 minutes of anything, your opinion isn't anything. They should not count an opinion unless you sat through a portion of it to where you can actually say this movie, wasn't good. But 5 minutes, it's bullshit that will count against you.
Well, you're lucky. I have comments like, "Oh, I saw the trailer and the movie sucks."
Oh shit.
But no, I was going to say, like, there was another thing too. I don't know if any of y'all see this or notice this too, but like the streaming services as a whole created a culture of people that tend to like fast forward and go through most of the film because there's parts of the film that they don't really care for or understand. So they want to find something that catches their interest. And they're just like, well, this movie makes no sense because they just skip so much of the film.
Right. Because we live in that fucking age of instant gratification where TikTok is a thing. Vine used to be a thing. And I'm just talking off the top of my head about things that have come and gone and probably will go. Like YouTube even has a thing called Shorts, where basically between that and TikTok, it's, minute long clips. I mean, I think some of the people can load like 3-minute long clips, but people are looking for micro pieces of entertainment now. Mm-hmm. People don't have like the patience to actually sit and.
We're in this extreme ADD environment now.
It's that YouTube generation. That's what they call it, where, people don't have the discipline or the patience to sit through a movie. Like I was watching a movie called Shock. I think it's an Italian horror film from the either early 80s, late 70s. And it's a very slow movie, but the payoff at the end is tremendous. And I was thinking to myself, my son or anyone around that age would have never, ever made it past the first 20 minutes. And it's a shame because the payoff was so good. It's still sitting with me.
Yeah, I mean, this is why the whole crop of recent films we've made are short. I mean, they're only about 65 to 70 minutes because we knew going in that there's a short attention span. So let's assume that they skip through thumbnails on the movie. Well, okay, so if they do that, we have enough points every 5 minutes where something happens, so they'll stop. And even if they watch a minute, at least we're getting them there.
Yes.
Whereas if we make a 2-hour movie with a slow build, we're going to lose them after like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. They're not going to have the patience. That's why we don't even run opening credits anymore, which is appalling. But I got to do what I got to do to stay and be able to create content, as a filmmaker. But I just got guidelines the other day. They want us to start doing commercial breaks in our movies, and they say, well, if you have a specific event every 8 minutes, where the commercial could go, so like a cliffhanger. So they're about to get killed, then put a commercial there. So I'm thinking like it's totally like anything I've ever done as a screenwriter. Like I've got to rethink the map and how we can structure these movies now. And more we are making TV. This is what TV is.
It's the strange algorithm, basically.
And it's handcuffing the artist. It really is. So even when I wrote Scarecrows, I went into it just knowing, that the things I did in the past, I can't do now. I have to make it more palatable for everybody. And so when I wrote it, I went into it like that. Although, there's probably stuff in there people still object to, but I wanted to make it, more mainstream. So hopefully people, check it out and I don't offend anybody.
See, that's like the part that I would think would hurt the soul the most is like you have to, like you said, Geno, just handcuff yourself to the regulations and the guidelines to the point where like your actual dream is kind of like half of what it could be because of all those regulations and guidelines.
It sucks. I'm hoping that, with Scarecrows, there's a substantial amount of gore. So I'm already planning on making 2 cuts of it. One, for hopefully the Blu-ray release where people can see it as with everything, and the streaming one in case there's any objection to, a guy being cut in half or, a person getting their arms cut off or any of that cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just like, remember when they aired Grease on television for the first time? They chopped up Grease Lightning because of the lyrics.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God. Yeah.
Phantasm was chopped because that's how I saw Phantasm for the first time. It was on CBS, and the steel ball scene, all the blood was cut out. So when I actually saw it for the first time the real way, I was like, oh my God, there's like blood coming out. It's spraying through that steel ball. Like I was like surprised. Like the original version, the TV version did not have that. And that's how I was introduced to Phantasm for the first time. So,
man, and what a kick-ass movie that is.
Yeah.
Well, I love that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Did y'all catch the 5th one, the final one, by any chance?
No,
I think it was called Ravager.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen it though. Yeah.
I think I did. I'm a huge fan of the series, but I'm trying to think if I've seen that one. I may have seen the one before it. But is the 5th one, is that where they kind of like explain the origins of the tall man, all that stuff?
Yeah.
All right, then I've seen it, but I've not seen it since it was first released.
Yeah, I need to go back and do a rewatch of it myself personally because I was a big Phantasm fan. Like my I've said this so many times on the show, but like my family owned a video store when I was growing up. So like getting to see a lot of the cover art in the horror section, when I got older and was able to watch the shit, those were some of the first movies I gravitated to, like those. And, like obviously like A Nightmare on Elm Street and shit like that. But Phantasm, kind of like the original one, at least, just stuck out to me. Like the cover art with that, Angus Scrimm was just like an imposing looking person in general.
And that was the painting, right? And he's holding the ball, and then you've got the ghostly face, and you got Angus in the middle, and you've got what's his name? Not Thornberry, Michael Baldwin in the background, right? He's great. No, I used to own the LP, and it had that artwork on the cover. I would say it fantastic. Yeah.
That one scene at the funeral when everyone's away, and the tall man walks over and lifts a casket all by himself with ease and threw it into the back of the hearse. That is one of those scenes when I was a kid that scared the living shit out of me. It's incredible. And actually, years ago, I did a podcast where we talked about the different franchises of horror films, and I had like 6 different like horror bloggers on, and remarkably, Phantasm was the one that everyone seemed to like the most. I was expecting like Halloween to take it, but in the end, everyone had chosen Phantasm because it has that history of like quality and there's enough mystery in there to keep you going. The ice cream guy, I could do without him sometimes, but otherwise I love the series.
It's great. They still they go to these tours like Reggie Bannister and Bill Thornberry, and I forget the girl's name is Kathy something.
Kathy Wester.
Yeah. So take a look on YouTube. There's like I just like found myself one night watching all these interviews and panels, and they performed that guitar song a couple times. Like the Sitting Here at Midnight. Remember when they're playing with Reggie's playing with Bill at the beginning of the movie. It's pretty cool watching like doing it after like 30 something years. So yeah, I mean it's I'm glad that the audience is getting a new audience, obviously.
Yeah, and a lot of these movies deserve that, honestly. I mean, we get reboots more and more nowadays, but I really feel like reboots and remakes can be impactful when it's called for, or if they try to do something a little different with it, but not stray too far. But I think what I would rather see happening is people being reintroduced to these films and they live on, because I mean, we saw what happened with that Nightmare on Elm Street reboot that came out and the Friday the 13th reboot that came out. And I think speaking of Halloween, one of the steps in the right direction was, okay, let's go ahead and continue the franchise, but let's go ahead and make it a direct sequel and kind of bypass some of the other ones. Because Cody, you and I did an episode about the Halloween franchise in general, and we called it the Slashpoint Paradox because there's so many fucking timelines in that franchise now.
Yeah.
And that's the result of, okay, let's stop the original continuity or one of the original continuities, and let's go ahead and, let's do a remake. Like Rob Zombie had his chance with like a remake and then a sequel to it. And then now we're getting David Gordon Green's new trilogy of films that follows the original that just ignores everything past the first.
I agree. Like, I think there's enough movies out there, and you don't need to keep making knockoffs or remakes. There's just like there's a finite number of classic books that are out there, and you don't need to create more and more and more that's just flooding the market. But as I understood it, like during the 80s and 90s, the studios had to do these sort of remakes and knockoffs to protect their copyright in the franchises. So that's why you saw a lot of that stuff going on in the late 80s through the 90s, because they were reissuing stuff. Studios were changing hands, and so the intellectual copyright they had to like do something new just to create a new copyright into the franchise and the series.
That's a very good point, because I want to say Roger Corman did that with the Fantastic Four in like 1994. It never actually got released publicly or officially. I mean, it's made its rounds, obviously, but the only reason that was filmed was to contain the copyright to the film for Fox.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, and you see, like with all these remakes and reboots and all that stuff, you're not seeing like any like original like horror icons being born. They're still leaning on Jason and Michael Myers and Chucky. I mean, where is the new one? I know we're in a day and age where maybe the slasher or the horror icon is something of the past. Maybe it's not something they're seeking. But you would think, considering the popularity of the Halloweens and the Nightmare on Elm Streets, that they would try to launch something that's different that could possibly be the next big horror icon. It has to be born sooner or later, I would think.
I mean, a lot of that too is in like creepypastas and all that. If you ever like look into that realm of horror, I mean, they've created so many different like creatures and just entities basically. And even, I know it's like a weird one, but like Siren Head's like fucking intimidating too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Like if you go like the bowels of the internet basically and look up some of these characters, there's a lot of potential there. And then even going into the CinemaScape, you had movies like The Collector that came out, and I certainly fucking thought that the villain in that movie was going to be like one of the next big things. And I mean, to an extent, yeah, like, you know, the Saw franchise to an extent, yes. But when I think about, you know, horror movie icons, I think about, you know, these characters that kind of had take on a life of their own. They're larger than life. Like you go, okay, so Nightmare on Elm Street is a prime example. I mean, aside from obviously Halloween and Friday the 13th, but people didn't go at a certain point to see the fucking human characters. They went to see Freddy Krueger because Freddy Krueger on the poster sold the fucking movie. It didn't matter what it was about, who was in it. As long as Robert Englund in the fucking makeup was there, your ass was in the seat.
Absolutely.
Honestly, for part one, the reason I saw part one was for John Saxon because I'm a big Enter the Dragon fan. So that was the reason why I saw the first one. But
that's amazing though. Oh, John Saxon was the fucking man, dude.
He is a man.
Underrated, great underrated guy. But yeah, you know, you don't have these new line cinema companies anymore that had younger execs championing stuff like this. You know, that grew up reading comic books, graphic novels. You have a corporate environment now where people can't really shift an inch because the advertisers are dictating what's going on, or the stock market that's a public company. So you can't. There's not really room for individual, and when you become individual, then you take the responsibility, and then they fire you. So no one wants to give a voice, is what I'm noticing in the ranks of at least the studio system. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a damn shame.
How do we give the end of this show a positive twist, though? Is what I'm thinking. We're like wallowing in the sewer now, or something. We're in hell now. How do we turn this up in a positive note?
We're like literally all like Elon Musk with the cigarette in the podcast, just like smokes like, yeah, that's the truth right here.
Well, no, I was going to say like, well, hopefully maybe you guys, you know, can be like a part of that movement to get that shit out there because like, you know, I may be alone in this, but I get tired of seeing the same recycled shit, you know, and it's nice whenever we get to talk to you guys and take a look at your film catalog and realize, okay, here's a shit ton of original content. Here is a lot of hard work, time, and effort being put into it. People that really care about film in general, people that care about the art behind it.
Right.
Our goal is to bring more eyeballs and ears to products like this. And it's why it's why we champion y'all's company so much.
I appreciate it. And you never know what'll happen. Like the cool thing about film is, you know, you never know. You're out there. Anything can happen, and it's such a like Greg said. It's in our blood. It's such an addictive, fun experience, and every film out there is a chance. And I'm hoping that with what Greg and I are doing, that does resonate in a big way because it is different. If you look at the films we're putting out, it's far different. Like I see like a lot of these horror filmmakers, and not to shit on them, but I will. And I see all this fucking clown shit and the shark shit. And I'm like, it's going to be really, really easy for some of the stuff that we're putting out in the horror genre to be different from that. You know, I would never, ever do a knockoff of a shark film or any of that stuff. I don't understand the appeal of that or the clown horror. So I think the shot is there and the hope is there. And if nothing else, it's such a fun experience that the memories are somewhat of a payment as well.
That's an interesting topic because I remember me and Richie scrolling through Amazon and there are so many fucking shark films. Like I want to say it was like 20 or 30 shark films, but they're all like different types, like sand shark or satanic shark or whatever the fuck they're called. But like there's so many variations of the same thing, basically. It's a shark killing people.
Next thing you know, it's going to be like you scroll through zombie shark, land shark, sand shark, shark. What the fuck? It's like Exhibit. That it's like that meme with Exhibit. Whenever he used to do Pimp My Ride, it's like, yo, dog, I heard you like sharks, so we put a shark on a shark so you can get bit while you get bit. Yeah.
I like I said, I run a website and I get like tons and tons and tons of fucking press releases to put up. And if I will not promote any of that shit. Like, I'm all for promoting horror. I love horror. I love film. If I see something that where someone is super passionate and gave it an honest go, fantastic. But if I see some complete shit where they're just, I don't want to say lessening the genre, but that's how I feel. I'm not going to promote it. I think it's not filmmaking. Where is the passion there? Just to regurgitate something so much weaker than Sharknado, or I'm not sure where all this clown shit came from, but probably Pennywise. But to see like these fucking clown movies where they got some idiot dressed like a clown holding a fake knife and chasing people around, there's nothing there. You need to have some character development. You need to care about the people, and you need to be your own person. And I'm hoping that these people just go away. Let the people that have something in their heart, go. Even if I don't like it, if I can see the love, hell, I'll fucking banner it on my website.
I mean, I agree. I think they're not making these kind of films are making it very hard for us to be noticed because we're all clumped in the same genre to somebody who's selecting stuff for a platform. But that being said, I respect anybody making a movie, whether it's somebody making a movie for $50,000 or $3,000. Somebody still wrote a script. They spent time. They cast the movie. Those actors had to show up at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. There was an effects guy. There was an editor. There was a sound mixer. So there was an effort put into it, and I respect anybody trying to do something. And obviously, if the movie sucks or we say it sucks, I don't think we should be that judgmental, but I'm sure that whoever that filmmaker is would probably learn from that mistake and is trying to do a little bit better or better, perhaps. So I don't want to really knock people or anyone who's attempting to make a movie, especially in such a volatile environment right now.
Right on. And I think, I guess it'd be kind of a way to close in a little way. I think that's something that Cody and I try to do with our Cult Cinema Showdown series is like, yeah, we can talk about movies and they might be flawed to hell and back and we're going to roast it a little bit, but we're not completely going to shit all over it. Like, it's funny y'all brought up the shark and the clown thing because we actually did, I think we kicked off like last year, if I'm not mistaken, 2020 with Sharknado versus Clownnado because we were like, what the fuck is a Clownnado? And we watched it, and for whatever fucking reason, it was one of the most entertaining goddamn things we've ever seen in our life. And I mean, we didn't not rip it, because we did, because that's what we kind of do. And it was hilarious because in the YouTube comments and on Instagram, a lot of the actors and actresses from the movie fucking loved the review and were just dying over the shit we pointed out, and just they absolutely enjoyed that we enjoyed just the imperfections of it as much as we enjoyed some of it, some other parts of it. So like in a way, if it puts eyes on it, no matter how it, gets there, that's kind of our goal, to put eyeballs on whatever it is we're doing. And most of the time we try to focus on lesser known or almost forgotten about or underground,
right?
Stuff.
No, you're doing well. You got, what'd you say, 180 some odd podcasts promoting it. So that's just awesome.
Yeah. And and I like the way you guys are bringing, you're doing the Lord's work with trying to bring obscure movies out there, and filmmakers like Geno and I, our work, and it's getting more views and so forth. And I was never trained, traditionally to make movies. I just sort of taught myself in the end. And I'll be honest with you, like some of my movies weren't intended to be bad, honestly. Like, for example, like Hunter. I don't know if you saw Hunter, which I made about 8 years ago. And I wanted to make a sort of nice 80s VHS detective thriller. For various reasons, it didn't turn out the way it is. But it's just been published in a book of like the 100 worst action movies of all time. So that's, but that to me is like flattering. It's flattering that there are no eyes to write about it. And so, but I think I think a lot of people don't set out to make bad movies. It just so that sometimes it happens this way. There's a sequence of events, whether it's an investor who pulls the money out, an actor who goes crazy, your crew leaves you. You never know. But in the end, the movie just has to speak for itself on screen, and we take the responsibility.
Mm-hmm. And there is a badge of honor with that. I had I think the name of the site was Salon.com that had the top 20 worst horror films of all time, and number 2 was Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage, and number 1 was Rise of the Scarecrows. And I was so happy. I'm like, I could not believe that was on the list. And so, yeah, there is something to be said for that distinction, because obviously if you make it like that, it can't be all hate. There has to be some love for it to be there.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a good way to end it right there, is to like take some of the negatives and just spin that shit into a positive and just make it work in your favor. Because at the end of the day, to me, there's no such, well, I mean, there is bad publicity, but there is no such thing as bad publicity whenever your art is like earnest and it's there.
Well, the thing is bad publicity is still publicity.
Exactly.
Yeah, we never know. 20 years from now, one of our movies or Geno's movies could be the next hard ticket to Miami. Or
I just think it's cool, and like especially now, like working with Greg for the last 7 years. It's been.
Not Miami. We're gonna make hard tickets to Miami.
I think Greg and I, we kind of have, as different as we may be in some aspects, we have the same sort of taste in movies and appreciation for movies. So I look forward to the day of Greg and I working shoulder to shoulder on a film, preferably an action film, and bringing back like the 10 to Midnight, Charles Bronson sort of thing. And I think there's plenty of opportunity for either one or both of us to kind of make that cult hit or whatever it should be called, because we when I look at our catalog and I look at what we're doing currently, I couldn't be more optimistic as for what we're producing. I think we got some really cool stuff coming out, and I think people are going to dig it.
What was that Bronson monster movie that was never made? What was it?
The Golem.
Yeah, we should do that.
We should do that. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, man!
If you do that, try to get Robert Bronzy in the motherfucker. That way, it looks like Bronson, but it's not.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen him. Yeah, I've not seen him act though. Does he sound like Bronson?
He doesn't really talk much. We actually covered Death Kiss. We did an entire month dedicated to the Death Wish franchise, and we did everything, including the kitchen sink, which was Death Kiss.
I swore they like dubbed over him though. That was the thing.
I think they did.
Yeah.
He's got a thick Hungarian accent, so he has to be dubbed in with an English American accent.
Oh, okay. So what's the best Death Wish? What did you decide?
Death Wish 3.
I agree.
Yep, Death Wish, because Death Wish 3. Okay, so like the way we did it was we did Death Wish by itself, and then we did the remake by itself, and then we did Death Kiss. So we dubbed it like the original, the remake, and the ripoff. And then and then on the two cult cinema showdowns, we did 2 versus 3 and then 4 versus 5. And then it wound up at the ass end of it being 3 going up against 5. We both were just like, dude, 3 is just so fucking batshit crazy and fun and explosive and just had every fucking thing going for it.
It's awesome. And you know what? 5 is underrated. I know 5 gets shit on a lot. I personally really like 5.
Well, dude, you put Michael Parks in anything and it's fucking just beautiful.
It is, and it's got some great lines in there. The end when he's like, "I want you to take a bath." That's fantastic.
Yeah, dude. I think that's why we picked 3 and 5. Like, that's why those movies went, because those were the ones we appreciated most. Which I've always been a huge fan of the 3, but like 5, like you just said, is a severely underrated movie.
I just remember, my favorite thing about the whole Death Wish franchise is just when Charles Bronson rallied the elderly people to fight against the freaking gang people. Like that was like.
Well, the guy got pissed off because they burned down his shop.
Yeah,
poor guy. That's my shop.
They burned his shop down, then it blew the building up next to it, and then again, and then again, and then again. Like one thing we died laughing at was the durability of the vehicle that old girl was in whenever it rolled down the fucking hill, because it hit this other car and split it clean in fucking half. I was like, dude, that car's a fucking tank.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a movie. What a series. I mean, and it did, like when you watch a Death Wish, the first 2 are so different from the last 3. It was really interesting, like the turn. It's almost like the Rocky films where they went almost like straight drama to this crazy 80s action stuff. It's fantastic.
Well, he moved studios because the first one was Paramount and then the second one was Avco. I forget, Orion, was it? So then going under Canon Films for 3, like they probably let him do like whatever you want. Let's just crank it out. Let's make it action packed. We already pre-sold the movie to 20 countries. Just crank it out. Here's the budget. There's no money compared to the second one. So, I think they gave him they gave Michael Winner a lot more creative.
Yeah, that's.
And they wanted to do a Rambo kind of movie or whatever. So that was the whole thing. Bronson became Cannon's signature guy for the better part of 10 years, maybe 8 years. Yeah.
So, the two Chucks, Chuck Bronson, Chuck Norris.
Yep.
Right.
Shit, yeah. You can't go wrong. The Cannon experience, there's just the amount of great films they put out with Bronson and with Chuck Norris. It's such amazing stuff.
Don't forget their prestige stuff too, like Runaway Train and the Sacrifice and Love Strings by Cassavetes. Like it's kind of insane what they were doing. It's amazing. It's weird that they're just completely associated with just like the 80s over the top stuff. You don't even think about the other stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Let's not forget the crowning achievement, the Apple.
Oh yeah, the Apple, and I mean it goes on. You dig up all that stuff that they were doing, the art house stuff that Menahem was he liked the art rich culture kind of stuff, and then Menahem tried to get too involved, and he should have stuck on the art house stuff, and but he got crazy trying to do over the top and the stuff that would ultimately take them down later on.
Right on.
Was He-Man really that much of a flop? Did it not make money? I assume that at least did something. Am I wrong?
I mean, everything at the time, they were just basically trading money back and forth, like moving it back and forth and borrowing constantly. That's why Superman got Christopher Reeve had a major falling out with them because they had no money left to make that movie. That's why the special effects suck in that movie.
I think that one bombed. That was The Quest for Peace. I think that one was like, didn't make any money, or obviously made money, but didn't come near to recouping anything.
Yeah.
I think the company was already on their way out by the time that movie was released.
Superman 4, The Quest for My Fucking Money.
The Quest Out of the Red.
Yes.
It wasn't good. I remember it not being good.
Yeah, no, it was pretty bad. It was really, really good to have you both on. Geno, it was good to have you on again, always. Greg, it was good to finally have you come on and just, shoot the shit with us, man.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable experience.
I'm sorry it took 5 years or whatever. 6 years, right?
Damn, that was a while back, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
it was like, what was like 20? No, well, because we recorded the original Samurai Cop episode in like 2016, and I don't think we put it out until 2018. But God, it's been 4 or 5 years for sure. Let's not wait that long again, though.
I was gonna say that was the days we were recording in the closet when we had interviews.
Yeah, had to start somewhere.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was fantastic having you both on. Do you guys want to plug anywhere they can find y'all, either social media or like any websites y'all want the listeners to go to?
Well, Cinema Epoch, we have a Facebook page, and then our production company is Cineridge Entertainment, and we have a Facebook page too, Cineridge, Cineridge, and there's a Twitter for both companies. And I don't have my own social, but I'm around. And I'm thankful for everybody. Thankful for our family, our team.
Oh yeah!
Shout out to Chris Spinelli. I have to mention him because he's been a big part of our team too. I think I mentioned everybody else. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me throw out a couple of names here. Rise of the Scarecrows, Hell on Earth. We're basically done. We have one more scene to shoot, which would be a lot of fun. We're driving a truck through a fruit stand. That should be a good time. And the cast and crew on Scarecrows is the best I've ever worked with. So I want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine, Hebert, who ended up just stepping up and doing so many things that was just above and beyond. Pete Baez, cinematographer, did a great job. Jesse Hall and Rick Caride, along with my cast, Laurie Bacon, Eric McKellian, Brent Northup, and a bunch of other great talents. So we're looking for a October release. We're looking at a Halloween premiere, and I'm really excited about this film. It's something where I think I've checked most of the boxes, and I put my heart and soul into it. So hoping that people will check that out. There's a Facebook page. They can find me on Facebook, and also be ready for Amityville Cop. So thank everyone for any interest, and also thank you guys for bringing me on the show to help me promote.
Oh, we definitely can't wait for your films, man.
Yeah, dude. And anytime y'all want to come on, y'all are always welcome.
Oh yeah.
And for
Appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. And for everybody listening out there, we're going to provide links to all the information these two guys just let out in the show notes below. So if you want to scroll up while you're listening and you want to click any of the hyperlinks, like right now, just go right now and scroll up and do it. And then you can come back and listen to the rest of this.
Right.
I think we're gonna roll out of here, guys. We really again appreciate y'all coming on, taking time to hang out with us, and put up with our bullshit.
No, it's been fun. Thanks, guys, again. Like, you guys are endlessly supportive of everything we do. Appreciate that.
And thank you guys for being just as supportive of us.
You guys are great. I really appreciate everything.
Oh, not a problem, Geno.
And I can't wait for your guys' opinion on Scarecrows. I'm so eager for it.
Oh, we'll do a whole fucking episode just on it. So
yeah.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. Now I'm really excited.
Hell yeah, dude. All right, gentlemen, y'all have a great night, and we'll holler at you later.
See ya. Thank you.
No problem.
See ya.